Okay, this video we are doing problem 1B. Again, very similar to this. I've a couple rectangles, one large rectangle with two rectangles removed, whatever it may be. 1.5, 1.75 is 3.25, leaving over 1.75 up here, so now I know it is symmetrical. Again, not absolutely necessary that you do the math. There is a reason why, because this dimension is not shown, and that is because the standard for mechanical drafting is not to give redundant dimensions. We get into precision and high accuracy later. We'll discuss why. But again, they don't. The standard is not to duplicate dimensions and not to provide redundant dimensions. So that's why it always seems to be lacking, or that's one of the reasons why. So again, I'll move this off. We'll start drawing it. Again, however you determine you want to do this. Here's my first one. This one being metric, 200 by 125 tall. Now I'm doing one that's 8 by 5, just to see roughly where that is, how big that is. I'll do a rectangle and I'll type in 8, 5. I see it's going to be a lot smaller because it's in imperial. Now again, not at all common to have both metric and imperial drawings on the same file. It just happens to be this way. No reason in the world to create multiple files for one assignment, or exercise as far as doing all these drawings. So don't let that bother you. It's going to look a little worse than this, where some of the drawings you may not even be able to see. Nonetheless, I have two rectangles here. And again, you can do this by lines, polylines. I'm going to go ahead and just do the rectangle command. I know I have two rectangles, one 1.5, and I'll just do this anywhere, 1.5 comma 5 tall. Now, again, what do I know is true? I know that this corner is actually down here in this corner. I could have started here with no problem at all. Again, play around doing it different ways. You'll see that sometimes there's some benefits or kind of an annoyances to doing things a certain way. This one here, let me go ahead and do it down in that corner. I'll go here and I'll type in 8 comma 1.5. There it is. Now a little hard to see. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. This is a nice thing about using polylines, is so that I don't have all these things over the top of each other, or having to select, well, which line is it? The line of the big rectangle, the line of the little rectangle. That's one nice thing about using polylines, is because they're not all broken out and individual, and then wondering how many I have here. I told you before in the settings, if you wanted, you could turn on what's called selection cycling. Now there is no function number for that, or no function key for that. And what this is, notice mine's turned on. What this is if I want to select this right here. Now notice I have this small rectangle popping up. But when I click on it to select it, I get this box here. And if I hover over each of these, here's the small rectangle, here's the large one. So then I can select which one I want. E for erase, right click, and it's gone. Now I'm going to undo that, and same likewise here. If I click down here, I've got all three rectangles that exist down here. So I have three polylines. This one, and this one. So again, then you can click and erase or right click, however you want to get rid of it. Same time, because it's a polyline, regardless of whether selection cycling is there, all I have to do is click there where I know it's the only thing that exists. Again, just something little there to keep in mind or to understand. Now, these grips I've mentioned are meant to grab onto. Now, they look a little bit different. These corner grips, they're square. If I grab those, I am totally messing with manipulating, basically stretching. You'll see a little pop up there, stretch vertex, add vertex, remove vertex. I'm just simply moving it around. Now I don't want to do that, so it must be one of these that I'm going to grab. Maybe this one to move the rectangle up. Well, clicking that one there does not move the rectangle up, it just simply stretches it out. Same with this one. And notice I can move it pretty much any direction. However, this line that I have grabbed the midpoint of remains in a parallel direction to where it was to begin with, its orientation. So it remains vertical in this case. So I'll undo that. So just M move. Now where do I want to move it? Do I know how far? Yes, I know it's 1.75 up. But knowing this is symmetrical, I could just grab this midpoint and put it in that midpoint there. Now I can do the trim command again. Right click to select everything. Here's a good example of before right clicking. If I do trim, it's asking what my cutting lines are. So if I select this, then it's going to either cut here, or cut here. Okay. Now if I cut here, it is cutting this vertical line of the vertical rectangle. It is not selecting the vertical line of this rectangle. So TR, in this case, I'm just going to right click because now I can just window, and I'm done. Okay. There is that original or the horizontal rectangle. There is the vertical rectangle. Now, if for whatever reason, this might be a good time to show you, up on the modify command, to trim a polyline, trimming both of those. What if we wanted it to be one polyline? You can. There is, drop it down here, and there is join right here. Now, what do you think the alias is for join? I don't know. Let's start typing it in. Type in J. That should be the one that pops up. Whether it's because it's the first one that it's going to use alphabetically, or in this case it is the alias for it. So right click, select this and this polyline. Sometimes it'll give you a problem where it didn't select it, and we can discuss that when it happens. It might be because these points aren't actually tied together in the exact spot. But in this case, we see now it is all one. If instead of using the join command, when we went over setup or settings, using the options here, it always takes a little bit to bring it up the first time. I believe, was it under selection? No, user preferences. Under user preferences, I told you about this here, double click editing, and it should be. If it's not checked, go ahead and check it. And what that does is, if you go ahead and double click here on a polyline, actually this is on several different objects, I have options here for polyline: close, join, width, edit vertex, fit, spline, decurve, L-type gen or generator, reverse, and undo. In this case, I want to do join. What do you want to join? I'll say that one. And it's here. Now, the fact this says open now tells me that this polyline is closed to a polygon now. And click here to verify that it is one object. Okay? That's all for this video.